Preston's been in here a bunch and admitted the even year Preston Smith curse. I know we've talked to you about it. Are you seeing some signs that he may be able to break that trend this year?
Yeah, you guys know me. I don't buy into any of that stuff. I just, I think I'm probably repeating myself over and over and over again. But just, the guy that Preston has become, I've known him for a long time. Been with him since his rookie year, and it's just, I said something to his mom the other night, post game after the game, and just I was sitting there talking. My wife was there, his mom was there, Preston's obviously wife and 2 children were there, and it was just, it's kind of just, it's cool to see him come full circle, and if you're, I'm sure when I was like us all, when we were 22 years old, we did some, silly things, and we were knuckleheads, and then you just grow up, and it's been cool for me personally, because I've been with Preston at 2 different places to kind of see that see that progression and that process, and so yeah, I the way Preston works and is a pro and practices every day, it's when you do those things, usually good things happen when the ball's kicked off on Sunday.
You haven't blitzed at all in 2 games. So what's the thinking there? I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. I guess if A, you trust your guys, or B, you could attack more because you think your corners can hold up to others. You've gone with the first one.
Yeah, a little bit of it too. I saw a stat the other day because I did notice that, but then I saw some stat that we've defended the least amount of passes too, I think, through 2 games. So I think there's a little bit of a correlation there. But I do feel, we do, like to bring multiple people, whether you call it a blitz or a pressure or, but, on the other end too, I think when we do choose to rush 4, the 4 guys we have rushing are pretty effective and pretty good. But by no means do I ever want to think that we're not a pressure team, because we will, we like to do that. It's the way the 2 games have gone. We've defended quite a few runs in the first game, and we've had the least amount of passes defended in the league as far as it is right now. But we'll get to the point where we do that. But I really do like our 4-man rush. I think it's highly effective.
Joe, how much do you get concerned about the stamina of your guys going down, a September Florida game? Baltimore's defense last week down in Miami, they seem to be playing fine. They gave up 28 in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I coached in Tampa for 7 years, and it's real. When I worked for Coach Dungy, his theory was that, because we were always worried about, we always thought, oh yeah, we're gonna, teams are gonna come in here and we're gonna, they're gonna die in the heat. Well, his theory was, as an opposing team, when you come in there, you only have to deal with for 3.5, 4 hours. They have to live in it and practice in it and work in it all day, every day, all week, all month. So the point I'm trying to make is both teams have to go through it, and that's something that you don't, I think it's more of a factor for them because they had to practice in it yesterday. They had to practice in it today. They have to practice in it tomorrow. We just got to go down there and get off the plane and go play a football game and deal with it for 4 hours. So I'm minimizing it a little bit, but it's something that you just have to deal with. And, we obviously make a point all week long with our guys to hydrate, to overhydrate. But my big thing is both teams got to play in it. So, if it's hot, everyone's got to deal with it.
Joe, what needs to be better against the run this week against Fournette than it was against the Bears last week?
Well, bottom line, football is a contact tackle sport. And if you miss tackles, you're going to give up runs. And that was probably the the thing that was, we did a lot of good things the other night against Chicago, but that was probably the one thing that I was most upset with, when we came in after the game was, specifically there, the opening drive, and then that eighth drive of the game. We missed a total of 9 tackles on 2 runs, and they gained 55 yards on them. So, I think that's obviously something that's got to improve. We got to do a lot better job with that. I don't think how dramatic that drive ended with the great play by Quay on the 3rd and 6, tackling Fields, which led to the 4th and 1, and the great effort by our defense, stopping them on the goal line stand. It really should never have gotten to that. You give up 55 yards on 2 runs in a drive. That's not good. So I think tackling, the number one thing, we really emphasized it and preached it and talked about it yesterday and today.
So how do you get back to that standard? I mean, you were really good last year. One of the websites I was looking at had you with the 2nd fewest missed tackles. So how do you get to that standard when there's limitations out there in the field?
Sure. I think there's a number of things you can look at. I think a little bit of it too is it's early. A lot of guys hadn't tackled for 8 months, and they've only had 2 live opportunities to do it. So, but I mean it's tackling. You really look at it, and I think we've talked about this in here before. I think it's the way football is right now. There's so few opportunities to tackle live, and you can practice a lot of things. You can practice throwing, catching, hitting a sled, all those things, getting off blocks. But the only way to practice full speed live tackling is to do it. And like I said, in the last 8 months, we've had 2 opportunities to do it with our starting defense. So I think that's something that it improves as the year goes on with every team. But it's been it's something and we take a lot of pride in that. I've talked to you guys about how we stress it every day in individual, especially on Wednesdays and Thursdays in practice. You got to be creative, coming up with drills that they're not full speed live drills, but they're you try to make something as full speed and as live as possible, even though you're tackling a sled or a bag, some kind of apparatus. But and then you really gotta teach it and preach it when you're in practice. Teach angles, teach leverage. Those are things that we constantly talk about, because you get one chance during the week to tackle live, and that's on game day.
Joe, you could see in the Buccaneers game, the Saints know about how physical their defense knows how physical Tampa Bay's offense is and what they're going to bring. Is there any way to prepare your team? It's been a couple of years since they've played them, for that kind of physicality. Is that what they want to do, is kind of get you into a physical game like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the most part, the National Football League, week in and week out, is it's a physical game, obviously. But that's something that they hang their hat on, and it's something that I'd like to think that we hang our hat on also, being a physical team on both sides of the ball. Both of our fronts take a lot of pride, both offensively and defensively, of being a physical group. But no doubt, it's something it's probably the first thing that we talked about to the team in the team meeting, and it's definitely the first thing that we talked about defensively. Is it's a physical mindset. Every week is, but this week is, you got to notch it up a little bit, just because of the mindset of the team we're playing, because that's what they want to do. So we obviously have to match that and be a notch better.
What's it like going up against a guy like Brady, who's seen everything you can disguise away, he probably knows what you're going to do?
Yeah, the guy really truly is unbelievable, and it's weird thinking back to, I actually thought about this the other day. You know, my very first year in the NFL, my very first game in the NFL was I was a quality control at the Niners, and we played in the Hall of Fame game, and that was actually Brady's rookie year. So I mean, I think back to how long ago that was for me as a coach, and I'm like, this dude's still playing, you know. So it's crazy, but yeah, he's phenomenal. He really is, and it doesn't matter where he's playing or who he's playing with. He's just one of those guys that, you know, he's like you said, there's you're not going to fool him, you know. The things that you got to do is you got to at least try to affect him, because you're really not going to trick him or fool him. So, but obviously one of the all-time greats.
Joe, you mentioned your time in Tampa. You overlapped with Rich for a bunch of years there, didn't you?
Bisaccia?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is the freaking third time I've worked with this guy. So we were together in Tampa, we were together at the Chargers, and now we're back together.
So, you know, Matt made a comment earlier in the week about how there's a mentality brewing on special teams, and I know you're the defensive coordinator, but nobody on this staff probably knows Rich nearly as well as you do.
Yeah.
You've seen him turn special teams units around before. What kind of impact have you seen him have on your staff and on your players and on special teams?
It's a great. I mean, I love Rich Bisaccia. I really do, truly. And probably with as much as I love him, I probably respect him more than anything, just because of the demeanor he has, the mindset that he has. I talk to you guys all the time about, you know, when you have a player that, what I respect most about the players that I truly love is that they're the consistency that they bring every day. And that's something that Rich is, you know exactly what you're going to get every single day. And that's a guy that's you know, hard-nosed, he's passionate, but at the same time, he is, you know, really doesn't show it all the time, but he's one of the most caring, sincere people that you'll ever be around. And, you know, I think that's what, you know, he brings that to our staff. He definitely brings that to our special teams unit, and collectively he brings it to our entire building and our team. And, you know, that what makes him unique. You know, he's, we should all be lucky that we have a guy that, you know, really should be a head coach in this league, you know, leading our special teams.
Back to Brady for a second. How hard is it to stay patient in that regard, in the sense that you can't fool him? The old adage is you want to play coverage.
Sure.
That's a great quarterback.
Yeah.
But if you go throughout a game and he's dinking and dunking you, paper cutting you to death, how hard is it to stay disciplined and patient in the idea that, okay, if I do come after him, he's most likely going to be able to.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think that's what makes, you know, I mean, Tom is obviously at the, you know, at the top of that category, but that's what makes great quarterbacks great. You know, it's the same thing with, you know, we're lucky to have, you know, Aaron. You know, I mean, it's that the longevity that those guys are able to have. You know, that's why they're so good and they're so special and they're so unique. And quite frankly, there's very few of them walking around the planet right now, is because guys can do that. And you know, it's the constant, you know, cat and mouse, that who's going to make the first mistake. And it's something that Tom's been able to do for, you know, 20 straight years, is that he's just, you know, he's so good at everything he does, and he just, you know, it's kind of the things that we preach all the time, you know, just keep swinging, just keep swinging. It's you know, keep chopping wood, you know, the tree's going to eventually fall down. And, you know, but I think that's the way you worded that. That's what makes Tom, you know, one of the greatest of all time. That's what makes a Hall of Fame quarterback a Hall of Famer, is that he's able to do that consistently, down in, down out, you know, game in and game out, you know, season in, season out. It's what makes him special.